welcome to WSSU Health TV. My name is Brandon Summers. Today's program is centered on the systemic autoimmune disease known as lupus. On today's episode of WSSU Health Watch, we will be doing a Q&A with Dr. Rashida Williams, an interview with a woman affected by this heavily misunderstood disease. Her name is Kayla Sanders. I will later discuss the 4 most common misconceptions of lupus. But first, my co-anchor, Ms. Janoris Laporte, will give an introduction to the disease.
Good morning, America. This is Janoris Laporte here in Winston, Salem. I'm here to bring you an introduction to today's disease. Lupus is a chronic inflammatory disease. It mostly affects the skin, kidneys, joints, and blood. But it's not limited to this. It is capable to damage internal organs too. This disease is known as the autoimmune disease. What that means is that the protein that the body produces to fight off foreign objects begins to turn the body itself, not recognizing what is foreign, or what is supposed to be in the body. This results as the body itself deteriorating, causing the immune system to begin to fall. This making the body more susceptible to multiple disease infections and sometimes even causing vital organs to fail completely. Good morning, Dr. William. We're so excited to have you here this morning and talking about this really important topic that is lupus. What is lupus? And is there any cure for lupus?
Not at this present time, but we are definitely trying to work towards getting a cure for this disease. Some of the therapies that we do have currently on the market include such drugs as ibuprofen. We have a few anti-malarial drugs. We also are using some chemotherapy drugs and other immunosuppressive drugs as well, but we still haven't discovered an actual cure for lupus yet. We're hoping through some of the clinical trials going on at this time that we should have something in the present or near future.
That's really interesting. So, lupus is preventable?
No, since we don't know the exact causes of lupus, it's pretty much hard to prevent lupus from happening. So what we've been telling patients is to try to avoid high processed food, to have a moderate diet, to avoid exposure to sunlight, and by doing these things you can kind of prevent some of the flares of lupus from occurring.
So I know you mentioned earlier that there is some treatment for lupus. How effective are lupus treatments?
Well, since there is no way to actually prevent lupus, there are several medications on the market that help ease some of the symptoms of lupus. But like I said, we're still doing some clinical trials to try to develop an effective cure for lupus. But the medications that we have been able to prevent and slow down some of the damage of the vital organs.
That's interesting. Lupus genetic or environmentally caused?
Lupus has some genetic factors as well as some environmental factors, but people who are generally affected by lupus, some go on to never manifest the illness at all.
Wow, that's nice. So thank you so much, Dr. William, for coming here to share this information with us. We're so happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
You know that a 12th century physician derived the name lupus from the Latin word lupus, which is directly translated into wolf. He deemed this disease lupus because of the classic facial rash that gave the afflicted the appearance of a wolf. There are many mysteries associated with the disease, and many explanations have been formulated, many of which have been proven false. There are a few examples of the misconceptions here. Number 1, many people believe that lupus is contagious. Because lupus is not caused by a virus, bacterium, or any other infectious agent, it cannot be horizontally transmitted. It is not an STD, so passing it through intercourse is not a risk or possibility. Number 2, lupus is a woman's disease. Although there is an overwhelming majority of females affected by this disease, it is not limited to the female gender. There have been several cases of men who have been diagnosed with the disease. Number 3, lupus is hereditary. Although mothers have had children who later develop lupus, the number is not high enough for the disease to be considered hereditary or sex-linked. Statistics say that only 5% of mothers who are affected by the disease produce children who have developed the disease. Therefore, lupus has a weak genetic correlation. Number 4, you cannot die from lupus. If caught early and monitored routinely, most cases of lupus, when treated aggressively, are not fatal. However, if not taken care of properly, the disease can destroy vital organs and cause things such as heart or kidney failure. These are two of the most common causes of death associated with lupus. How long have you been diagnosed with lupus?
About 3 years. I went to see a specialist, and after a series of tests, I was diagnosed with lupus.
What made you decide to see this specialist?
I began showing strange symptoms around 4 years ago.
What made you wait to go to the doctor?
Honestly, I was terrified. I was in shock and in denial because my body was just going haywire with different symptoms. Got kind of scared.
What were some of your first symptoms?
At first, I noticed my energy levels began to plummet. I began to feel fatigue after the slightest activities. I began to have headaches that were almost unbearable, that eventually became recurring, seeing as if they were chronic. But the thing that alarmed me the most was that the development of butterfly-shaped rashes on my cheek that spread from cheek to cheek.
Were you only tested for lupus when you saw your specialist?
No, because lupus is a systemic autoimmune disease. My symptoms resemble those several to other diseases such as fibromyalgia, Lyme disease, rheumatoid arthritis, and several other heart, lung, bone, and muscle diseases.
How do you deal with the disease and its symptoms?
At first I was scared. I lived in fear of everything that I thought might go wrong. But the medicines began to show promise of a normal future to some extent. I began to live each day as a strong individual, no longer fearing my own body.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Lupus statistics. Even though anyone may develop lupus, women are most at risk, and it is most common in Hispanic, African American, Asian, and Native American women. The cause of lupus is unknown. According to the Lupus Foundation of America, they estimate that at least 1.5 million Americans have lupus. Because there are no large-scale studies to show the recent number of people in the U.S. living with lupus, the number may be higher. The Lupus Foundation of America believes that about 5 million people throughout the world have some form of lupus. Lupus affects mostly women of childbearing age, 15 to 44. Colored women are 2 out of 3 times more likely to develop lupus, but people of all races and ethnic groups can develop lupus. Annually, more than 6,000 new cases of lupus are reported across the country. Lupus statistics. Even though anyone may develop lupus, women are most at risk. And it is more common in Hispanic, African American, Asian, and Native American women.
So I can get lupus? No way!
Janoris!
You said,
We was filming!
no. I'm not willing to get lupus. Okay? So you can change that. You can avoid like...
Really? You just messed up the film.
Whoops, my foot.
Although there are no recent studies to show the exact number, there may be more. I just screwed that. I can't do this right. Can I just, take a C and walk away?
No.